Is Mathieu van der Poel aura farming? That's what I think the Peloton thought he was doing when he rolled off the front today. This pancake flat sprint stage, not a single categorized climb, not barely any hill in this race from Chinon to Châteauroux, where a street is named after Mark Cavendish. Supposed to be a plain old sprint stage, but there was cross tailwind in the last 45, well, for a lot of the stage, and when neutral ended, Jonas Rickard went up the road, and then another Alpecin teammate jumped after him. Mathieu van der Poel, no reaction from the Peloton, from Little Trek, who this is a key stage, the final sprint stage to control until stage 17, and key in the green jersey battle with 50 points available to finish and an intermediate at 22Ks. Little Trek are thinking at this moment that Van der Poel is just being silly. He's just Instagram click farming. He's not really taking this serious. He'll stop after the green jersey sprint at 20Ks. Alpecin de Koenig had no intention of stopping at that point. Van der Poel hasn't been trying for the green jersey the last 2 days. He's clearly not going for it, and so they built up a lead really quickly. And because Milan spanked everybody yesterday and Binny didn't get a good result, Wanty, who have a few injuries, weren't controlling with Trek like they were in previous sprint stages. So Milan trying to do some Peloton diplomacy, and same in the Trek team car. They're trying to see, will anyone else help them pace? But the problem is they're bluffing while they do that. They put Thibaut Naes on the front, and by the intermediate sprint, they've let this gap out to 3.5 minutes, which I don't understand. Like, yesterday they wouldn't let the two Total Energies boys in the break at all, and they wouldn't give them more than a minute. And now you give Van der Poel 4 minutes for free, and then after the intermediate sprint, which of course Johnny Milan wins, but still not for maximum points, after that sprint, they still keep controlling with Nace. And I was like, at 1 minute, Simmons should have hit the front. And you control. It's a shame for Simmons. I'm sure tomorrow he wants to probably win the stage. But pacing with Nace and letting it out to 5:30, guaranteed that Trek would have no lead up for Milan at the finish. Joao Almeida had to abandon the race. He succumbed to his injuries. Eventually, Uno X start chasing when the gap is 5:30. Sharkman also put forward for Tim Merlier and Sudar Quickstep. But, this is Mathieu van der Poel. And also, a lot of teams are trying to conserve their bullets because they're worried about crosswind splits. Van Aert at the back of the peloton at the wrong moment. And it's Trek actually trying to split it. Maybe they're thinking, well, if you're not going to help us, we'll try to split it. Van Aert then does a massive effort to bridge across, but this wasn't a very extended crosswind section. Oscar Onley's caught on the wrong side of this for Picnic Post and their GC leader. But who's going to continue after this? Which teams have a sprinter? And as I said, in week 2, there is no sprint. And so you have to wait until stage 17 for the next sprint. And eventually they go across. Van Aert gets back, probably didn't need to do the effort. Same with Oscar Only because it gets blocked up in the villages. Watch the decathlon rider, quite funny. He goes vroom vroom. They're driving it every day in the Tour de France. No slow days in the Tour de France. 50 k's an hour average all day pretty much for this stage. And so Trek continue for a bit. And then they relinquish duties. They stop pulling and they call the others bluff. Jacob Alula to the front to chase. Shooter to chase. And in the end, all these teams, they play themselves. Like, if you just put one rider initially, you wouldn't have had all this stress, and you just never let the gap to Van der Poel and a teammate go out to 5 minutes, 6 minutes. This right corner was absolutely crucial. There was a change in wind direction afterwards, tailwind entry, and then it becomes crosswind afterwards. So you see Wellens doing the lead out for Pogacar, Affini, Jorgensen, and Vingegaard on his wheel. Important to enter this corner in good position in case a team sends it. Uno X, I think, with Abrahamsen entering good position. Roglic actually been pretty good in crosswinds the last few years, like 2022 Paris-Nice. I remember he was good in crosswinds. Maybe Jakobsen won that stage. Visma get in formation and start to pace, but not really trying to split it at this point. And then after a village, they do send it, but the gap's now 52 seconds. So the crosswind nervousness, the lead-outs, the other sprint teams controlling, it's 35 seconds. Van der Poel's completely under wraps. Yes, there's been a few splits, and maybe there's more splits coming with the wind, mostly tailwind rather than cross-tailwind, even though there were splits, they were able to come back together. It wasn't looking good for Van der Poel and Rickard. I mean, they just taken out 3 minutes pretty quickly, but after this, again, there's a lull in the peloton because it's a right-hand corner at 16 k's to go. All the teams come to the front and start blocking, and it goes out. He gets another 40 seconds for free. Now they're into a crosswind. The car comes up. Few words of encouragement also give some relief from that crosswind. Are any teams going to split it out of that? The answer was kind of no. Roglic is at the front thinking, oh, what's going on? Why is no one sending it? Trek get back in formation with turns. Visma don't really try to split it with any enthusiasm. The wind was not strong enough from their right-hand side, and it's still 1 minute with 10Ks to go with 2 in front, and then all the other sprint teams, they come up in twos. Bahrain, they come up in 2, but they put it in the gutter, make it hard for everybody else. Rickart's eating his stem. How long can he last? Sturven comes to the front, but he's got Verstringer in his wheel for Alpecin blocking, and then there's more disruption. X pulled too hard with, I think, Court, and they've got Varenschold crash, but they can go for the sprint with Fredheim. Rickart's gone. Last 6Ks, Van der Poel's got to do it on his own. Arkea come to the front for Demar. Groupama FDJ for Paul Penaway. Tudor again for Dainese, and unfortunately for Van der Poel, just a bit too hard and a few kilometers, maybe 1 kilometer exactly, too far in this stage. He's caught just after the Flamme Rouge with Albanese bringing the peloton back to his wheel, who went for a late flyer. Israel Premier Tech get their lead out messed up. I think Stewart goes to the right-hand side and then gets frustrated with Ackermann, who again ignores his lead out, even though Stewart should be sprinting for himself because he beat Milan in the Dauphiné. Milan launches. Merlier more aero versus pure power. And Tim Merlier, who's also got a fair bit of power about himself, wins this stage. You see he launches just a bit after Milan into the wind. Van Poppel leaves a very nice gap for Milan on the barrier. Bittner following his wheel, and Merlier just too fast today. It was close in the first sprint today. It wasn't. Nice result for Arnaud Delis actually, coming third. Then Bittner fourth. Penaway, Biniam better than yesterday. Bauhaus, Mayers, Fredheim and Groves. Here's what the European champion, the best sprinter in the world, had to say after the stage.
After yesterday, what a sweet revenge, first of all.
Yes, but it was with the heat really hard. And the bunch was quite okay all day. But sometimes you try for echelons, and in the last 60 kilometers you get no drinks anymore, so it was a bit overheated. But without the heat was a quite okay day, but really nervous.
Especially with Mathieu Van der Poel at the front. I suppose you had the time gaps. Were you worried about those two guys?
Well, 5 minutes and a half is a lot, so we try to help. And also other teams start to help, and the pacing was quite high. So they did well in the front also, but like I say, it was just hard for the guys in the front and the guys who were pulling, and the bench was just nervous.
In terms of GC, only changes. Van der Poel gets dropped at the end and he moves down a few positions, but he wasn't really amongst the GC contenders in our consciousness. Anyway, tomorrow's a big stage, 4,500 metres of climbing, some of the longest climbs we've had in the race so far. Also Bastille Day, so many of the French riders will be motivated to get in the breakaway. Should be a break stage, should be very entertaining. Hope you enjoyed the recap, and I'll see you with the recap. Whatever, ciao.